This is Dr. James Crosby, Head of Sustainability at Advantage Utilities. I'd like to ask, could your organisation be more of an energy sector hero? Are you interested in improving your sustainability as a business? Well, now you can obtain the expert view and guidance on renewable energy solutions, on-site generation, carbon accounting, and sophisticated grid energy purchasing options through Advantage Utilities. Our team of experts use the latest tools to better analyze, track, and reduce your organization's energy usage and carbon emissions. To find out how Advantage Utilities can become your one-stop shop for all your energy and sustainability needs, please visit www.advantageutilities.com or give one of our passionate and friendly team a call on 0208 131 4747.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Energy Sector Heroes podcast. My name is Michelle Fraser, and every week I will speak with incredible people who share their lessons, experiences, and stories from their time spent in the energy sector. Hi there, and welcome back again to this week's episode. If you're new to the show, then please take a second to subscribe and even consider sharing the show with just one other person. This week, I am joined by Molly Determan. Molly is the president of the Energy Workforce and Technology Council, which I'm quite excited about, actually. Molly, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Michelle. So like you said, I'm president of Energy Workforce and Technology Council, and that is the U.S. National Trade Association for energy services and equipment companies. And so we represent over 300 member companies across the energy value chain.
Okay, that's exciting. So how did you get started off in the energy sector then?
Not directly. So I got introduced while I was doing PR consulting to oilfield services, and just really found, the work that was happening in oilfield services to be really exciting. I didn't realize all the technology that went into the industry. And so it was just something I want to be, more of a part of. But I started out by, going to college and studying journalism and German, because why not? And so then when I got out of school, I ended up, doing PR jobs in nonprofit management, and eventually went on to start doing that PR consulting. And so it really was not like a natural, I didn't have anybody in my background that had ever worked in oil and gas. I didn't have any understanding or exposure to the industry, until I was probably, close to 30. But once I, got that exposure to it, I just really felt like that it was an industry that opens doors. It's a global industry, and it has an impact on everybody's lives. And so I wanted to be a part of that.
Okay. That sounds amazing. So did you have any role models in your career? Why did you find them inspirational?
Yeah. I mean, always have, had people that have been role models. And I think that, when I think about role models, I think about some of my mentors, and some of those people I found through outside of my company. I found them through doing civic, involvement. I was very involved in an organization called Rotary International, and found some community leaders in that had nothing to do with, what I was doing in my day job. But I, one was in academia, another in HR, and they were people that were well established in their career, and they were willing to take time to invest in me, even though they were getting nothing out of it. They had no ulterior motive. other than I was somebody who was hungry to learn. And so they were willing to teach.
Okay. What was the one piece of advice that stands out that they gave you?
There's so many good bits of wisdom that I've gotten, and some of it that I think about is trivial advice, really some guidance around thinking, being thoughtful in the approach that you take in your career and life, not asking questions unless you're prepared for the answer. And you're not I feel like that was guidance around being thoughtful about as you approach people and you approach conversations with them, and not just coming in with an end result in mind. I feel like that was really helpful to me. I've also gotten a lot of guidance from people around coaching my team, and in coaching my team, being focused on the outcomes that I want from my team instead of how they are delivering the outcomes, their methodology, not approaching them about that, just telling them what it is that you want and what it is that you expect, and let them figure out how to get there. And I feel like that has been extremely helpful, and kind of it helped me in the way that I was able to lead and pull out of the weeds in leading.
Okay. So do you think it's quite important not to micromanage your team then?
For sure. I mean, I think that management is important. There are, you hear people talk about the difference between a manager and a leader, and a manager is so focused on their deliverables and, the very minutia. You do need people that are focused on that. But how you do that, I feel like there is a nuance to how you can manage. And yeah, I agree. I think that micromanaging is, generally speaking, not helpful.
Okay, so what is the one piece of advice would you give to budding managers about how to manage their team effectively?
I mean, I think that advice on being focused on the outcomes is really helpful, but also one tool that we use in our organization is being focused on how things, should look, how you want things to look, and how they should look like, what they should look like when they're fixed, and how do we get there. So when things go awry, because that's always going to happen, that the expectation of the team is we can talk about what happened and why it happened, but we're not going to spend any amount of time there. Because when you start spending too much time on how it happened and why it happened, then you're just going to be focused on blame. You're going to be focused on excuses, denial. If you are focused on what it looks like when the problem is fixed and how we're going to get there, that brings the team together. It unifies, and it takes the focus away from the blame.
I agree. I think finger pointing is can be negative on a team as well. What is the most challenging thing about your current role, and how do you handle it?
I think that there's a challenge when you're working for an organization that is member driven, and so you're bringing together lots of different constituents that all have different things that they need. This is also a nonprofit, and so we are, limited in the amount of team members that we can have. We are not limited by the amount of things that we could do. And so we're always, have more on our plate than we can manage. Managing that and keeping those different pulses of what the membership needs, balanced across, everybody's different expectations is challenging. But we do that by staying focused on our core tenets. And so our core tenets are train, elevate, and network. And so that's if it's not in one of those areas, then we're not going to do it. And that's, helps us to stay very laser focused on what it is that we need to deliver.
Okay. Sounds amazing. So what do you enjoy most about your current role?
I love that I get to work with so many different people on behalf of organizations. It's a sector that I'm really passionate about, that I'm very proud of. And so that is motivating. But then there's the individuals that I get to work with. We get to work with so many leaders across so many different companies. And just to have that access to that level of leadership and there's so many inspiring people that we work with and that we work for. It's easy to, like, if you're focused on that, it's very easy to stay motivated.
Okay. Because that leads me on to another question. So what does keep you motivated when times get tough?
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to come back to the mission of, what your organization is. And for me, that's what I do. But also I know what keeps me going are my values. And some of my values are around being achievement focused. And so I always have, different things that I'm trying to achieve, that I'm trying to work on. And it's never just one thing. There's some big long-term goals, but I also have to have short-term things that I'm working on. But in my long-term projects and goals, having milestones along the way that I recognize as achievements. I had one of our former board chairs talked about that you need to recognize your successes, and you need to recognize even the small successes as you go. And I think that that's been really helpful for me, because you can take a lot for granted and get into this routine, your daily routine, and get kind of stuck in the muck if you're not being intentional about recognizing successes as you go.
Okay. That sounds amazing. So if you were going to hire anybody, in your opinion, what makes an outstanding hire?
It's all about attitude. Skills can, be taught, but attitude and work ethic cannot. And so when I am looking for a new member of the team, I am less concerned about their specific skills than I am about their attitude. If their attitude is one that would align with the rest of the team, and if they are going to come in and be a hard worker and be focused on that over it's okay to be ambitious and it's okay to want to advance in your career. That's fine. But if that's your sole focus, that's not going to translate well for the organization. What translates really well is somebody that comes in and wants to do a great job and achieve well at their position and try to take on more. When they start taking on more, then that's going to lead to promotions. That's going to lead to greater responsibility, because you're naturally going to come there. And so trying to find, team members that understand that, or at least have a natural knack for that, asking those types of questions, are what I'm really focused on.
Okay. But do you really think that someone that's totally just focused on climbing the career ladder would maybe not be a good fit then?
If that's their primary focus, probably not for me. I mean, I think that you have to have more depth. You have to have things that you care about. You have to have, you have to want to care about your work. And if you're only caring about your trajectory, then you're not caring about the work that you're doing.
But could you not care about your work and climb the career ladder at the same
time? Exactly, you can. And that's what I'm saying. It's fine to be ambitious. It's fine to want more. But if that's your sole focus, then that isn't going to work. So yes, be ambitious, want more for yourself, but do it also through your hard work and being focused on your job.
Okay.
Your not your job, but your organization, and doing more than what is in just your role.
I agree, actually. I think one of the quickest and best ways to get promotion is to do more, to do over and above what you're currently doing in your role.
Absolutely. Because people will, when they see you doing that and they see, you being like a high performer, somebody that accomplishes a lot for the organization, they're going to start like looking for opportunities for you because they see that you are somebody that can be, like an asset to the organization.
I agree too. I do agree with that. Yes. Yes. So, have you ever encountered any career disasters?
Career disasters. I mean, I'll say this that when I first, I feel like, yes, always, there's always like, I don't know, as big as disasters. I'm always like, trying new things and, you know, not always succeeding at the individual things I'm doing, but like, those are, I feel like very kind of like specific moments, not completely derailing my career. I feel like if I had any career disasters, they were right when I got out of school. And that would like, I was recruited when I was a senior in college to get my PhD in German. And, the university that recruited me was paying me a salary in addition to paying for all the school. Like, it's amazing. And I got into the program though, and I realized that I was not interested in being a German professor. And so I dropped out. And I had to, kind of pivot at that point and just find a job using my journalism degree. And, at that point, I'm kind of like at a weird timing. It's not like when other kids are graduating from school. And so I just took a job in marketing. I had an internship that I did in PR in undergrad, and the person that was mentoring me in that position told me, for public relations jobs, you just need to get experience really doing just about anything for 2 years. And then somebody will give you a really qualified job in PR. And she's like, I'm just going to, like shoot it to you straight. And I appreciate that. So like, that's kind of what I had in mind when I then decided to pivot and start looking for a job using my journalism degree. And so I took a marketing job and did that for 2 years, but it was sales, and that's fine, but that's not, I didn't understand that to be marketing when I took the job. That's how young and naive I was, not good at asking questions. And it just was not like, I was good at it, but I like really, really didn't like it. And so then I was able to find a job in PR. And so like those first couple of years out of college, and I think that this happens to a lot of people, like when you're your first couple of years out, maybe not as much for engineers because it's a very like much more straightforward path. But, especially for those with liberal arts degrees, it can be a little messy. And, until you like find your footing. And it wasn't a straight path that I was on, but I got some really great experience and some great, like I learned a lot, and it set me up to then, get a job in PR.
But that must have been a really difficult situation that you were having to deal with so young, to have decided maybe almost halfway through your PhD that you didn't want to do it anymore, especially with sponsorship as well.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard for sure, but it was harder to be in a program that just didn't align with what I wanted to do. And so like the reason why I had a degree in German is because I loved learning another language. I loved learning about another culture and utilizing those skills. And that's not, really what being a professor of it is. Like I'm naturally like good at learning languages. I'm not really great at teaching them. So I think, yes, it was hard, and it was hard to like make that stop, but it really, really, really did not align with what I wanted to do with my life. And I think that I have been confident enough in my own abilities and just knowing that like whatever it is I'm going to do, I'm going to find a way to be successful, and just believing in myself, whether it's merited or not, to be able to make those jumps.
Okay. So do you think that it's important to believe in yourself?
Absolutely. I think that, believing in yourself like will propel you further if you are ambitious, and there's like you always are wanting more for yourself, and you're working towards that, then you will find more for yourself. If you're complacent with where you are, and that's fine, then you probably aren't going to like advance as much. But maybe you're happy there. That's okay. I think the, ultimate goal is to be like happy with what you're doing. And for me, I am happiest when I am pushing myself.
Okay. So do you think it's important to push yourself then?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think that yeah, I mean I guess that feels like pushing yourself can be, pretty personal. But for myself, like I feel like learning new skills, trying new things, like even if it's on something that I've done before, I'm gonna try to do it better the next time.
Okay. It's a bold phrase. I mean, obviously by learning from mistakes if you made any the last time, but how do you improve on what you've already done previously?
Yeah, I think it is some of it is looking at what like taking time after you finish a project or something that you've been working on, taking the time and being intentional about thinking about or discussing with your team, all right, this was great, we did this thing, let's talk about if we were to do this immediately again, what would make it look better. And I do that, and now my team does it, even when I'm not there. It is, kind of the expectation is that we can be happy with our performance, and we can be happy with what we've done, but we're also going to talk about how we can do it better next time. But you got to do it while it's fresh, or you'll forget.
Okay. But that's quite important, I think, in all projects to do that though.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think that is anything like like super groundbreaking or anything like that. Like that, you just kind of have to do to. I think what is probably pretty like fundamental or foundational is taking the time and being intentional. It's like the intentional leadership is an easy concept. It's not an easy delivery.
How do you mean it's not an easy delivery?
Because I think that when we're in the day-to-day grind, we can, try to like just get things done, move on to the next thing, not stop and not be like having, and sometimes it's going to be hard discussions too, right? And so I think that it's just like the ease of doing things, like without like having to like put too much thoughtful conversation into it, that can happen. Just the routine of it all, and then also the awareness of how to have those kind of crucial conversations, which is a book that I would recommend also.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's called Crucial Conversations, and it is really helps to have like discussions that might otherwise like feel difficult. It helps to kind of take out it doesn't really take out the emotion, but it kind of gives you a methodology to approach those conversations to where they don't seem like there's big of a deal to have them.
Yeah, but I think having crucial conversations for everybody, no matter what age you are, is really difficult though.
It can be, but I think just like with anything, the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. I think one of the first like conversations that I had to have that was a really, really, really difficult conversation. But I had a mentor that I was working with on how to have these types of conversations with my team. And he recommended that book. And then he kind of talked me through how to have this upcoming really difficult conversation. And once I did it, now I've done it again with, somebody else like a couple years down the road. And the second time I had to do it, it was like I wasn't stressing at all. Like the first time I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I could do this. And then the second time I'm like, not even like I'm thinking about it, but I'm not like stressing on
Okay. That's really wise words, actually. Not to get stressed about it, which would be difficult as well.
it. Yeah, it can be. But I think just the like, I mean, you can get stressed about it, but try it. And then once you've done it, once you've got, some of those hard conversations under your belt, then you'll find them easier. It's like it's more the repetition of it that I found really helpful.
Okay. Excellent. So, what am I going to ask you? What is your zone of genius? What are you most good at? There must be a million things you are.
I would not say there are a million things that I'm good at, but I would say one of the things that has differentiated me is my ability to make like meaningful relationships with people and taking that to be able to help other people make relationships. So I really pay attention to the dynamics of relationships, the dynamics that are happening in a room, body language that's happening, and responding to the unspoken conversation that's happening in meetings. And I think that is one thing that has helped my trajectory.
Okay. How do you mean by that?
I think that which part would you like to know about?
Just all of it.
I think that, so when I say like making relationships, I'm just trying to think like how to dive into that. I make relationships quickly with people and am pretty, I would say like what you see is what you get with me. And what I guess people call authentic. And so people feel comfortable, kind of sharing and like making some level of relationship with me because of that. And so whether that is, and so I'm working with all of these different companies, right? And it's people that are in leadership positions within their companies that don't have a lot of time, that are very focused on, high level important things that are going on with their organization. And so the ability to jump in there quickly and make a relationship with those people and help, get them to understand why being involved with this organization is really important for our organization. Like just having that ability to do that is really beneficial to the trade association.
Okay. I think being authentic as well is a good trait as well.
I mean, I know I prefer to talk to people that are authentic because you can tell.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So, what advice would you have to a younger audience about coming into the energy sector?
Don't hesitate. Come on in and you will have, exciting challenges before you. As a career path, the oil and gas industry and energy industry it opens doors. You can create a really great network and you can also create a really good foundation for yourself and your family. These are good jobs. And depending on what you want to do, if you want to travel the world, if you want to see the world, or if you want to, solve complex challenges, whatever it is that you're wanting to do, there's an opportunity for you here in the industry.
So do you think that the industry will stay for many years to come then?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the, all of the demand forecasts are only going up for energy, because as we bring on, it might change like the needs of energy and the mix of it. But there's a lot of people in the world that want more access to energy. There's also a lot of other needs, like when you look at things like AI and the data centers and how much power those data centers use. And that's only just starting. And so I think that, in particular, where oil and gas will always, will be a significant portion of that energy mix for a very long time. And so, contradictory to what you might hear in mainstream media, there is an opportunity, a long-term opportunity to build your career in this industry.
I think so too. So is there anything that you still want to achieve in your career then?
It's funny that you asked that. I can't point to anything specific because that's really not how I have ever operated. I always want to be the best at whatever it is I'm doing. And as long as it aligns with my values, I'm going to be happy doing that. And I know that whatever it is that I do next, I'm going to want to be the best at that. But I don't know, specifics. Like I never have a specific thing. I did not ever say to myself, I would like to be the president of a trade association. That was not on my list. That wasn't even on my list when I got this role. And so when my predecessor, Leslie Byers, she was planning to leave the organization, I'm like, no, you're not going to. You're not going to do that. Like it hasn't been something that I had looked for myself. And so I don't know. I don't know what I want to do, down the road, but I know that I'll be good at it.
I think you will as well. So I'm going to maybe wrap things up and ask you one final question.
Okay.
I ask this to everybody, actually. If you were going to turn back time, would you change anything?
Ooh, that's a good question. If I could turn back time, I don't think that I would change any of the things that I have done. The only thing that I would change is I would have learned earlier how to have those crucial conversations with people, because that has been something that has really helped make my life easier. And I feel like make other people around me, their lives easier. And so I think that there's some skills that I could have used earlier on, but there's not any actual changes that I would make to the career path that I was on. Because I feel like every single step along the way brought me to where I'm at now.
And I think that's a really good answer, because you're hugely successful. So you've been really, really successful in navigating your career to this point.
Well, thank you.
So that's all the questions I have today. I would like to thank Molly for your time. That brings us to the end of another episode. Thanks for listening, and see you next week. That brings us to the end of another episode. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, I'd like to gently encourage you to leave a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts, and share the show with another person. You can also follow me on LinkedIn or via my website, www.michellefraserconsultancy.com. Thanks again for listening, and see you next week.